Welcome everyone, my name's Corey Allen and this is the Overton Report. Today is the 22nd of December. We are so close to Christmas. A lot of crazy stuff is happening. I don't know if many of you remember, but after the Supreme Court dismissed Texas's lawsuit against Georgia and Pennsylvania, you remember there were about 17 or 18 states that had signed on to that lawsuit, and a lot of congressmen had as well. Well, after it was rejected, the head of the Texas GOP, Mr. Allen West, very, very well-respected GOP member, he said, perhaps law-abiding states should bond together and form a union of states that will abide by the Constitution. Now, a lot of people had some serious questions about the Supreme Court's decision regarding this lawsuit. What the Supreme Court said, actually, regardless of what legacy and mainstream media might tell you, had nothing to do with the veracity of the case or the claims, whether or not any of it was false or true or verified or unverified or verifiable or unverifiable. What it had to do with was the Supreme Court made the decision that Texas or any other state has no standing for a redress of these claims through the Supreme Court. So what the problem is for me and a lot of other people is the Supreme Court said that Texas or any other state has no legal standing to demand in the Supreme Court that a state follow their own election laws. Because as we know, elections are run by individual states and they're supposed to be able to run them however they wish as long as it follows the Constitution. The question of whether it follows the Constitution, is blatant. The state legislature are the ones who get to change and make election laws in each state. However, in Pennsylvania and Arizona and Georgia, it was governors and attorney generals and secretaries of state that were making these drastic changes to their election laws with weeks to go before the national election. Is that a problem? Yes. And nobody says that it's not a problem. What the Supreme Court was saying is that Texas and the other states involved are not an injured party and therefore cannot bring it to the Supreme Court to decide. So that's the short of it. Many people are just astounded by this because of course it affects Texas. Of course it affects California. Of course it affects South Carolina. It affects every state when other states don't follow the Constitution in a national election. Of course they are affected. So of course they would seem to have legal standing. But it is what it is. There we are. Now, everyone flipped out on Allen West after he said maybe we should form a union that does follow the Constitution. They said, oh, he's calling for secession. Well, Allen West responded to that by saying something along the lines of, I'm not calling for secession. I would argue that the states who are refusing to follow the Constitution have already announced secession in doing that. So there is an argument to be made there. We'll see what happens. But so we have the head of the GOP in Texas talking about forming a new union, or other states, by not following the Constitution, have basically shown that they wish to not be a part of the union anymore. Arizona Republican Party, the state Republican Party, they retweeted something that was very interesting. So a man had tagged the Stop the Steal movement, which of course is, people who are against election fraud and want it to be investigated. One man had tweeted something tagging Stop the Steal and said, I am willing to give my life for this fight. The Arizona Republican Party retweeted that, and above that it said, he is Are you? With the implication being, he's willing to give his life for this fight, are you? That's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal, okay? And with all of this information we have coming out about Venezuela and their ties to some of the voting equipment, China with their interference, the State Department, and all of the national intelligence agencies refusing to come out with the report that they were supposed to come out with on December 18th regarding interference in our election. And reportedly, they didn't want to come out with that report because a number of them wanted to leave China's name off of the report, the Chinese Communist Party, even though there was ample evidence showing that they actually did interfere. A lot of people say it's radical. I think it's a pretty intense statement to make, an implication. At the same time, if half of the voting population believes that other countries and subversive elements within our own country have stolen the highest office in the land of the most powerful country in the world, if you follow that train of thought, if you follow that logic, this only starts to make sense. Now, of course, people are getting very concerned about what's going to happen. Donald Trump tweeted on January 6th, he wants everybody to come to Washington, D.C., and he said it's going to be wild. That's a big word. As we all know, that the last go-around when we were in D.C. bringing you some footage, 4 people were stabbed, 4 conservatives were stabbed. The time before that, dozens of conservatives were attacked, and this one is set to be the largest one yet, January 6th. And of course, that is the day where the Congress will certify the election, and we have Mo Brooks. And so all it takes for a challenge to be made against the Electoral College is 1 representative and 1 senator, and then there will be debate, and we'll see if we can get the election certified. That happens on January 6th, and we're going to have a lot of people there on January 6th, so nobody really knows how that's going to turn out, but we will be there, and we will be keeping an eye on it for you. But the energy is tense. They are talking about doing shutdowns again, of course. Actually, in the UK, we've seen that they have shut the entire nation down. Literally canceled Christmas. Of course, they've done this in New York. They've done this in California as well. And in Oregon, they began trying to do it. But at the Oregon State House yesterday, anti-lockdown protesters got very angry and they tried to go into the State House in Oregon. Let's look and see how that turned out. So yeah, not well. We have a lot of tension. We've had 8 months of people being put out of work, losing their jobs, losing their ability to provide for their families. Their children who were straight A students are now failing because of teachers not wanting to go back to work, even though only, 2 or 3 people under the age of 19 have died from COVID-19. But it's about the kids. There's a lot going on right now. 2 million Chinese Communist Party members have been found out to be in nations all over the country. 140 some odd thousand of them in the United States, getting close to power, mainly democratic power. People are fed up. People are concerned, and it's now they want to do it again in a harsher way. So with all of this happening, it doesn't even feel like Christmas. But a group of people wanted to do a child cancer fundraiser in Wisconsin to make it feel a little bit like Christmas for some people, get some donations and help. But unfortunately, a far-left Marxist group that hides behind race as an excuse to do what they do decided to terrorize them, screaming at them in their cars, spitting on their cars, yelling, cursing them. Same stuff we've seen in South Carolina, same stuff we've seen in Charleston, actually. But this was at a child cancer Christmas light show, like a drive-through. You drive through, you see the lights, You pay money for the cars, and the money goes to child cancer research. Take a look. As I said, tensions are getting very high. People are very upset. Many people don't see how we come out of this one intact. I still have hope that we can. I guess we're going to find out. We've got some interviews coming up with some conservative leaders, and we're going to ask them what kinds of things they feel need to happen to keep this from crossing that line. I know we all hope that it can, and I also know that it's on a lot of our minds almost all the time right now, and it's causing a lot of stress. So, let's just try to get through this Christmas. Try to spend some time with our families like Attorney General Barr said he was going to do. And let's see what happens on the way to the 6th of January and in the days following that. We will talk to you all soon. We'll be taking a look at some local things tomorrow. And then we're going to be heading out of town for a few days for Christmas to see some of our family. So we'll touch base later on. Until then, my name's Corey Allen, and this has been the Overton Report.